Hello and welcome back. I think in the age of social media and especially short form video content like TikTok, it is so easy to see so much mental health content. I must admit, I have plenty of sessions where somebody will refer, if not more than 50%, to a TikTok they saw, something they found relatable, advice that they either liked or maybe didn't like. And it just seems like it's just easy to relate and to create short form content and other content as well that is really relatable, that in some ways is really suggestible, I guess you could argue as well to some. And there's a whole dialogue and a whole video that could be made just about that on the internet and mental health content and professionals in mental health making content. I'm going to focus today on the best and worst advice online. I actually remember, I think it was 2018, Hattie, I hope I'm saying that right, Hattie Gladwell, I believe, who talks a lot about mental health and is based in the UK, started a Twitter that was worst mental health advice. People shared their stories and some of it was absolutely horrifying. So I will start by saying we're not going down that path. There's not necessarily a need for a trigger or content warning, although if you are feeling sensitive to this topic, feel free to turn off. There definitely is a lot of bad specific advice, harmful advice out there as well. This will be kind of in more general terms advice that I see online. I'll also say, as somebody with a social media account focused on mental health, the number one thing we block besides spam are these kind of messages. These are the type of messages that we block and will remove people and remove the comment directly from our site because it is harmful to put out there. So going through some of the worst, and I will go over at the end, kind of good quality, positive things that you can also do for your mental health. Number one, I think we've all heard this before. Have you tried yoga or going for a walk? Getting some sunshine will really help. I think especially people who are struggling with depression or anxiety hear this a lot, that the cure all is to take a yoga class or go on a walk and all things will just get better. Super minimizing for so many people and really kind of missing the mark largely here. The next up is you're so lucky. You have a house and kids, a car, a career, you have a place to live, you get to eat 3 meals a day. You should be really grateful. Once again, minimizing the understanding completely of somebody's mental health issues or struggles that they're dealing with, thinking it's just kind of as easy as gratitude will save all of this. The next one I have heard myself, and I've heard this from a lot of clients as well, is some people have it much worse than you. You should be really lucky. There are people who are like really struggling with their mental health. And maybe they point to somebody on the news or an article that just came out or a celebrity or something else where it's like, well, you're not that bad. You're not mentally ill because you are not as bad as a book character or a celebrity we see on the news or the cover of the newspaper where something really tragic just happened. Next up is sort of slightly helpful or more helpful than some of the others. Someone trying to be really relatable by saying like, we all get sad sometimes. Like I have anxiety too. And although that might be valid, and yes, they may have anxiety, they might not be dealing with the same type of anxiety, same mental health issues that you are dealing with. Kind of couching it as we all feel this way is also kind of really minimizing it. If you are somebody who's listening to this thinking like, well, how do I comfort a friend? You are welcome to say that and also add in something speaking to what they specifically are going through. If they tell you they are crying all day, every single day, and they're struggling to take a shower or eat, saying, well, we all have anxiety sometimes. When those are not your struggles, can feel really minimizing and make them feel really small. So kind of adding in something that they're saying to what you're saying so that they feel heard is really important. The next one, which is the number 2 thing that we remove people for, is medication shaming. People who don't have an idea of how medication works or mental health works. Definitely not pharmacists or researchers that will say to somebody, those medications are going to hurt you. You're going to go an extra toe. did you know? And they'll come up with some story, uncle, brother, cousin who took a SSRI years ago and now it's not even sold anymore. Medications change, studies, things are different year to year, let alone from 30 years ago when your uncle's great brother took medication for hearing voices and what you may be taking as well. So the idea that medication is harmful, that it is more harmful than beneficial, is med shaming and doesn't fly. It's also not accurate. It's not supportive in any way to say what you're doing is wrong. Stop doing it when the person taking the medication likely has weighed the pros and cons. Maybe this is the 5th medication they've tried. They're definitely being their own advocate as best they can. And it's really hard for a lot of people to even ask for help to get medication. That first conversation can be really challenging. So kind of minimizing how they're feeling and also telling them what they're doing is wrong, not exactly harmful. The next up is another comparison. You can't be mentally ill. Those people are scary. Those people end up on the news. They're dangerous. That guy that we saw that was screaming obscenities, you're not sick because you're not like him. That kind of, once again, thinking of not just minimizing it, but also displaying people who are mentally ill as being dangerous or, not curable, super sick, manipulative, and pointing out how you can't be mentally ill because in their mind, what they're thinking of what mental illness looks like is dangerous, manipulative. Maybe it's someone in their life or somebody who used to be in their life, and they're not able to separate you as a person from what often is a stereotype of mental illness. The next two are the kind of fix-it mentality. So my cousin's uncle's brother's hairdresser's next door neighbor took or used or makes a concoction of whatever it may be. There's this thing, they don't want you to know. Big Pharma doesn't want you to know that there's an herb. It's only grown on the mountaintop, behind another mountaintop in this rural area. It's not even on maps right now. It's the cure. And we're going to get it for you. Kind of thinking about things that are not even feasible to get. I've heard everything, and I mean everything from essential oils to breast milk. Lavender, cures anxiety if you didn't know. And have heard so many of these things. Often, not saying herbs cannot be helpful, but often looking at herbs or things that have not been studied that are not readily available or easily available, or tree bark or some sort of concoction that somebody has created, and they are telling you a story of someone they know. It's never somebody they know. Well, it's always somebody they know in the distance, 8 times removed from their family, and they're telling you how, it can be cured based on something. I would say the vast majority of whatever that is not actually legitimate and is not going to do what a prescription medication or other treatment may do for you. Trying to be helpful, we'll give it that, appreciative of trying to be helpful, and at the same time offering advice that can be dangerous and also is just not helpful in regards to a direction to go in. Saying that there's this route that is behind a mountain in France isn't really going to help you not feel depressed right now. And the last up, which I will say might be the pet peeve of all pet peeves. One day maybe I'll tell the story of how an MLM approached me trying to get me to make videos for them and try to sell their gut health supplements. And I did turn it down, just so you know, very quickly. I will say that this is my ultimate pet peeve, which is trying to sell something to you. Whether it is an MLM or another product that they have, somebody who's in sales and is trying to make money is kind of finding people, whether it's online or in person, that are going to share their story or kind of say, I have anxiety too, and raise their hand in the room, and they're gonna go right to you. They're looking to make money. They're looking to sell something. This might also be the same crowd as the one before that. Whether they're selling you a product, I've seen everything. I've seen bracelets. I've seen herbs, supplements, essential oils, making these claims. These are people who are using you for money, and there is a great chance, I would argue almost 100%, that whatever they are selling you is not going to be a cure-all. Is it something, like we discussed lavender, is it something that might be helpful? Yes, it might be helpful. It might take the edge off. It might provide some comfort. But as a whole, none of these things are going to cure you. And keeping in mind that this might be somebody who's interested in hearing more about your mental health issues to make a buck and not necessarily because they care about you. So I will move to the best advice. I'll keep this pretty brief. In creating this list, there was so many lists online. There is actually a good amount of advice if you just simply Google. It was more than I thought would be out there that was positive advice. So I'm going to go over a few of these. There are plenty more out there, and I will keep this section pretty brief. So avoid illegal drugs and alcohol, working on your sleep. And I note the word working. I'm not going to tell you how many hours of sleep you get. That is unique to you. And for some, you need less, and some you need more. So working on just getting a better night's sleep, waking up feeling refreshed, not being tired all day long. If you're tired, it makes you more vulnerable to emotion dysregulation, feeling off throughout the day, and can also kind of build in Tuesday, then Wednesday, kind of just not feeling right. Next is eating a balanced meal. I'm not expecting everybody just to eat kale salads all day long, but kind of being more aware of what you put in your body. And I like to focus myself on like how this makes me feel. I definitely don't eat a kale salad diet in any way whatsoever, but just thinking about like, is this going to make me feel full? And that's what I need in the moment. Great. Hit the drive-through. Is this going to make me feel bloated or heavy, or am I going to be tired in an hour because there's a lot of sugar in this item? Just kind of thinking things through, making better choices, or at least thinking about how your body will feel right now. And next is talking to someone, whether that is a friend or a professional, just letting people know how you're feeling. I think a lot of times people are really scared to do that, and depending on your friends and your family, it could be very understandable. I've also met a number of people who, when they did reach out, were kind of surprised how many people were happy to sit by their side or be like, we don't need to go out. You don't want to go out? Let's sit on your couch. Let me hang out with you. Can I order you a pizza? You mentioned that you haven't been doing such a great job at eating. So like, why don't I just get you like a big pizza and then you have dinner and some food for the week? And that people were a little bit more helpful than they expected them to be. Next up is seeing a doctor, depending on where you are in the world, your primary care doctor, or in the UK and other countries, your GP might be able to prescribe medication if you're open to it. If you are not interested in medication, it's definitely worth talking to your provider, your doctor, because there's a good chance they might have lists of counseling centers or crisis centers or other things that you might be able to have access to. So it's not just necessarily for mental health reasons. The sixth one here is to find a therapist. Once again, if you can. No, this is not affordable or accessible for a lot of people. If you are able to find a therapist, there are therapists that offer sliding scale and some discount sessions. If you are connected to educational facility, such as a college, as well as if you were in junior high school or high school or even elementary school, there is often a counselor there as well. If they are not able to provide direct support to you, they might be able to refer out. I find that school counselors are like the hub of the school and know a lot about what's going on in the community, who's offering what, who has opening, and often are like a good first step to go in as well. And at least in the US, colleges all have counseling centers on site. I actually have my internship in one. You can often just walk in and see somebody. Sometimes they're interns. Most of them, at least where I was at, were full time paid staff with much experience. And sometimes they can also give you a referral. We were able to do, I believe it was up to 12 sessions. It's been a number of years. I think it was up to 12 sessions as well. And it's right on campus. So it's convenient, it's confidential. It also feels kind of easy to get to and close, a place that you hopefully feel comfortable with. Next up might seem really silly, but drink water, just keeping yourself hydrated, making sure that you're taking care of your body the best you can. Next up is some breath work and some mindfulness. Doesn't need to be anything formal. I have apps on my phone. There's YouTube videos. I got Post-it notes everywhere reminding me. I also have phone notifications as well that happen, I believe, 3 or 4 times a day that remind me to kind of take a breath, and I use that time just to breathe for 20 seconds. So focusing on your breath, slowing things down can be really beneficial. Next up is changing your social media feed. So, in this day and age, there's a lot out there, some good, some not so good. Sometimes it can be easy to start liking things if you're feeling sad that speak to you feeling sad. And then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, your whole feed is depression stuff. And although that could be useful for some, I could see that also being really hard to get out of this little funk that you're going through, this depressive episode as well. I will make another video talking about how to kind of fix your feed and get a little bit different type of feed, keeping things a little bit more upbeat, although mental health related, maybe more support related than things that maybe don't feel right or kind of are starting to make you feel a little funky. And the last one is make online friends. I might be one of the few therapists who is always a fan of this one. So if you have not the greatest support system in your community or at home, maybe you're in like a rural area and there really isn't like even counseling centers near you, or you don't have a car, if you're finding that this list is like, I can't access any of these things, I don't have the funds to do so, or maybe you do have support and you're just looking for something more anonymous, there are so many free and well-managed, I say that also, social media groups out there. There's a ton on Facebook. I know there's also Discord now and other servers where people are talking about support, where they're asking for help from one another. People are developing lifelong friendships and feeling seen, feeling heard, feeling like they have a place to go to, and feeling less alone. So that's something that you're interested in a way for you to gain support. I would say find one that's well moderated, that people are acting in a way that also feels comfortable for you and isn't just a really triggering place to be at, and connecting even if you don't ever post a single thing, just seeing what other people are going through and that you are not alone, I find for so many people can be just unbelievably powerful. So that was the worst and what I would like to think is sort of the best advice out there for dealing with mental health and mental illness. If there's anything you would like to share in the comments, is there advice that you received that didn't make the list that just made your eyes roll back, or something that you've been told or has been said to you found online that you're like, oh, geez, are you also in the camp of yoga doesn't fix all of your problems? Because I feel like that might be the number one that I see, at least in my own area in the Pacific Northwest. Thank you for joining me today. So feel free to like and subscribe for more mental health content, and take care and stay skillful.